I think Croydon has
Yeah,
huge moments of
that's
potential
true.
because we're on TikTok big, and I'm scrolling, I'm doom scrolling like in bed, and then I get like someone crashing a double-decker bus into a bridge on my game. Get a bit of a jump scare.
I keep getting recommended Croydon lives, like people just driving
Oh
around
my
on Croydon.
god, there's so many of them.
I keep getting those, and like that's the only one that I get, and I don't. I don't mind the game, but I don't interact with the live, but it just keeps coming up.
I get
every
Croydon
single
lives
time.
and they get bored and go on another game, so they say they're playing Croydon, but they're not.
Welcome back to Beyond the Blocks. This episode we're talking about Roblox shutting down their Discord competitor Gilded and 100 million experiences vanishing from the platform. But first, we're your hosts. I'm Adam.
I'm Fedor.
I'm Anthony.
And Anthony's going to kick off our weekly roundup.
Okay, so today's first headline is Roblox's new safety snapshot announcement. This is a press release, which they've done. So every now and then they have this sort of official page that they post to with a big corporate sort of news announcement. So that's what they've done. They've announced a number of changes, some of which we're already aware of as developers. Some are new. But all of these changes are with the aim of trying to improve safety on the platform. So as you probably know, Roblox has been receiving a lot of bad press recently. So which I suppose we're trying to work out if these have substance or if they're really trying to make people aware of the efforts Roblox are making to improve safety. The first sort of announcement in this is it's really one of the kind of annoying things for us as developers. But from the 30th of September, unrated experiences will no longer be playable. So that's more than 100 million unrated experiences won't be playable. Obviously, a lot of people are concerned that games are just going to disappear. What if the creator's not active? Roblox have a solution. They're preserving classic games, but we don't know what criteria they're assessing that by. The second thing that I've announced is voice moderation. That's now in 7 more languages, which we'll discuss more later. That is AI moderation, and they've also removed 800,000 avatar items and 1.8 million usernames, which have violated the community standards. So, what do we think?
Those are all very big numbers. I'll start with the experiences. 100 million experiences have been removed. That's kind of crazy. I do wonder how many of those are actually experiences you could play. Like, I don't think they said that those were public ones, but do you remember back when probably all three of us signed up, you used to just get a place assigned to you that most people did nothing with, or maybe threw some free models in and then that was it.
I have over 1,000 on my profile. Genuinely over 1,000.
I wonder how many of those are in that 100 million versus ones that are actually publicly playable.
Or just games that no one plays.
Yeah. I definitely heard when they first announced this change in the requirement of answering this questionnaire to make your game public. They actually talked about how difficult of a decision it was to make on the Tech Talk podcast with David Baszucki. And they talked about how ultimately they believed it was the right decision to make, even if it affected a lot of these legacy games. And when they first announced that, there was a lot of pushback, I know, on Twitter, for example, from people who are really dedicated to cataloging a lot of these super classic games. And it seems like they are being receptive to those complaints. As Anthony mentioned, they're still trying to preserve some games, even if that criteria is unknown. So that's definitely good to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I think for devs who are actively looking after their games, this wasn't too big of an issue, right? We just filled out the experience. It was all about having age ratings on the games and making sure that every single experience had an age rating. So it wasn't too bad. But as you say, it's those classic ones where the developer might have left the platform years ago. You know, Roblox has been around since 2006. And so you've got a lot of history there and a lot of people who've grown out of the platform or just left for other means, or even people who've lost access to their accounts. So I think there was quite a lot of experiences that fell into that category. Nice. What was the second thing that you said, Anthony, on this safety snapshot?
Well, so the seven new languages that voice moderation is now available in. So it's Indonesian, Polish, Thai, Chinese, Tagalog, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Apologies if I didn't. Arabic and Russian. So some of them seem like quite niche languages, which is pretty incredible because, obviously with an AI moderation system, you have to have a lot of training data. So I presume it's sort of the advancements in the amount of and quality of training data. It's lots of swear words in different languages.
Yeah, I think this is pretty representative of some of the biggest Roblox demographics across the world. Indonesia, I know there's a lot of Polish players, a lot of Russian players. Tagalog is the language spoken in the Philippines, which is also a massive, massive Roblox player base. So it just seems like they're bringing a lot of these policies up to date, which makes a lot of sense. It's these, for a while, Roblox has had a very America, English, maybe Europe-centered perspective on safety and prioritizing those languages for moderation. So it's definitely good that they're expanding this to some of the massive player bases around the world.
Yeah, it's interesting. It raises the question, what was happening to those player bases before this moderation was rolled out, right? Could you speak in Russian and get past the filter, or were you... I don't know if voice moderation was available to all languages. It's an interesting one. I don't know if you were just being put through the English filter and therefore it wouldn't pick up offensive things in those other languages. And I think there's still obviously more languages left, right? I don't know if Roblox's plan is to roll out every single language in the world. That might be tricky.
I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I know some AI researchers who would be very interested in, Yeah,
well, it was interesting because you said about training data, right? How much can these, how much training data is available for these particular languages? I think that's the challenge. And we've seen that AI models do better at English than the other languages just because
I still think
there's a lot
Google
of training
Translate
data available.
I still think Google Translate doesn't even speak in Irish. Like you get text,
Really?
but you can't get it to say anything. You just don't have the training data. Wow. Well, they probably could get it.
I think there's a few million people over in Ireland who would argue that they're happy to train it. But yeah, it's interesting to see where these platforms put their effort and put their time into supporting international audiences. But yeah, I think this is positive.
Yeah. Speaking of international audiences, another Roblox feature announced this past week that'll definitely be affecting them, or at least their wallets, is the introduction of regional pricing for developer products. Earlier this year, Roblox rolled out regional pricing to game passes and avatar items, and now developer products are finally being added to that list. For those wondering what regional pricing is, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Users in different economies across the globe, essentially Robux cost more for people across the globe, so it only makes sense to price specific items in games or avatar items differently for those people. So for example, a player in the US might be charged slightly more than a player in Brazil. As a developer, this is actually a really, really positive change for me, as I've personally actually had to work with manual implementations of this kind of thing, where we'd create a bunch of variants of developer products, and then we'd have to go in and arbitrarily extract the user's country code and then kind of assign them to a tier, and then I'd have to make 3 versions of every single dev product I wanted to be regionally accessible. So it's definitely a massive time saver that Roblox is kind of taking this and automating it for us. It also kind of ties into a broader theme of the Roblox analytics platform being something that plays a more active role in balancing and monetization of developers' games, because previously you'd kind of open it up, you'd see a bunch of analytics, and then it'd be on the developer to actually make some decisions about this and change stuff. And for the most part, that's still what the analytics platform is used for. You see that your playtime is down, so then you go and look, what can I change about my game? But it seems like with stuff like price optimization that's in the works and is being advanced rapidly, or A/B testing, specifically for thumbnails and that sort of thing, Roblox Analytics is moving towards a direction where the analytics will collect data and then make decisions for developers and kind of streamline that process when it can be a little bit technically challenging. For players, this change is pretty simple. Essentially, if you're a Brazilian player and you were previously being forced to pay the same rates as American players, you will now have slightly discounted products. Developers will likely have to implement things that prevent like cross trading and weird abuses of the system to prevent somebody from, say, purchasing something in Brazil and then selling it at a premium to US players. But Roblox is also helping developers out by implementing a lot of technology that should hopefully prevent people from using stuff like VPNs to get around this regional pricing.
I mean,
do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Before you all book your tickets to Brazil, I think they've solved that you can't just go to a different country and get a different price.
My first thought was the FIFA boss, the ex-FIFA boss, who went someday to famously speech where he went, "Today I feel African." So yeah, I sort of wondered, thinking that and then turning my VPN on, sneaking around.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think they've thought of that. I think they've thought of people going on holiday because, again, you book all your holidays to the countries where it's cheaper. But no, it shouldn't allow any of that, which is quite interesting. The part of this that I was thinking about while you were talking was why Roblox decided to put it on the devs to turn this on, and like, why is this not just reflected in the price of Robux in those other countries? But I realized that could mess with the DevX rate, right? If you had 100,000 Robux being worth $380, well, it's not if half of those came from someone paying less than $380 for it. So yeah, it makes sense to be done on the Robux level. I think
maybe
it's
they
a
just didn't think
natural
of it.
progression, right?
And then just drop the price.
I think they thought of it. I think they thought of it and worked out what would cost them less.
Following the confusion on developers' sides about the recent one singular bump in DevX rates, people being like, wait, so is the Robux I'm looking at right now old Robux or new Robux? How does that reflect in the dev portal? What am I getting? Yeah. Quite frankly, I was recently DevXing on the 1st of this month, and I was kind of confused about which section of that was new and old. I can imagine if this was a perpetual thing where you have Brazilian Robux and American Robux, it'd be really a difficult thing to do for developers. So I think this per product basis makes a lot more sense for regional pricing and should hopefully be kind of a win-win situation for both developers and players, in the sense that developers will be able to increase their conversion of some of these areas that previously were priced out by American market rates.
It's like optimizing supply and demand, basically.
Exactly. Pretty much, yeah. And then the players who were previously priced out will now be able to purchase some of these things that they previously couldn't and enjoy those games just a bit more.
I am curious how much analytics went into making the decision of the pricing power of these different countries, because we switched this on Stepford County Railway for Game Passes recently, and one thing we noticed before switching it on is that India was actually one of our top 5 spenders in terms of country, and they were already buying the Game Pass quite a lot. We switched this on and it reduced the price from 1,000 Robux to 400 Robux, and we didn't really see much of a bump or change in how often they would spend, but obviously they're now getting it at 40% of the price. And so we actually got an analysis from a Roblox data scientist to sort of show us the bump. And it did show an increase in the first sort of week from enabling this feature. And then it kind of settled back to normal or even lower than normal levels afterwards. And I wonder how much of that was just an instant rush of this thing's gone on sale, basically, right? It's suddenly cheaper, let's all buy it now, versus long-term impact. And I guess it's hard to measure that until it's been on for a long time. But one thing we have been asking for that I don't think we have yet is a good way built in to the Creator Hub, built into the analytics, to see the impact of this, to see that the increase in conversion has offset the reduction in revenue for those particular products. So I'll be interested to see, now that it's on dev products as well, if they invest any more in the analytics of that.
Looks like Roblox is continuing to improve analytics and actionable analytics for developers. We'll certainly be looking forward to more changes, but we'll be back after this break.
We're trying to make sure that everyone who's interested in the Roblox platform gets to see this podcast and the news that we're covering each week.
To help us spread the word, you can help us feed the algorithms by liking the episode on YouTube and using the new hype feature if you're catching us within the first 7 days.
You can give us a rating, and of course, commenting your opinions on any of the episode's topics helps to grow the conversation.
We appreciate the support. Let's get back to the episode.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now discussing the new ShareLink API, which Roblox have just announced. This is an API, so an interface to developers, which allows them to prompt players to create a new share link. So a short link, like a Discord invite, I suppose. Those can be created in real time, and then they carry a bit of data. So then when you share it with your friend, they join the game, and then the developer can do something with that. So an example is if you're playing an obby, you could be maybe level 66 and invite your friend to join you at level 66 or speedrun. Although I don't know if many games will like this because of the challenge of actually getting there. But one example they gave is that your friend could join you at the same level, or you could join in the same map, and things like that. So what do you guys think? How does this affect? Will you be using it?
It's an interesting one. I guess the games that I've worked on is like a bowling alley game, a train simulator, and I don't think either of those would benefit from this any more than just someone joining you in the same server, right? Like, I don't think we have anything where, I imagine this is more applicable to possibly even games that have multiple places within them that you can teleport between, and like the person can join you directly in the one that you're in. This feels more applicable to those kind of experiences.
Yeah, I don't have any specific upcoming projects that I can think of ways. Like you said, most of my games, once players are in the same server, it's basically the same experience. But I can definitely imagine a lot of really creative applications of this beyond just like catching up to your friend in a game. Like maybe you have the ability to send a share link, because developers have the ability to embed any kind of data into there. You can maybe send a share link that like prompts a friend to challenge you in some kind of game. Like maybe you set a record in a game and then you send them a link, and then they can like go and race against that, the personal record of yours or something.
Yeah.
Because of how open-ended the system is, it seems like there's a lot of potential for developers to come up with really creative stuff.
Yeah. I work on a bus simulator game, and we have leaderboards. We have weekly leaderboards, monthly leaderboards. We have groups who compete against each other. So it would be quite interesting to see what we could do if we could get them to share links to challenge other people. We have we have a feature called shifts. So like you kind of drive a route with other people. You can invite someone on that. You could invite someone to join a specific route or specific location in the game. Because our map is huge. So send a link and then you spawn right where I am.
Yeah, that'd be quite cool.
Private servers as well, custom private server implementations. I've got quite a few ideas of what we could do this. Nothing solid, so no promises if you are a Croydon player and you're listening. But I've got some ideas. I think it's cool. I think a lot of games are going to take advantage of this. I could definitely see a chess game or something like that doing it.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like a better option to just the on-platform invite, right? Like you have a few more options.
They're also,
as you say, you can make things start when people join, which is quite nice.
They're pushing it with moments as well, which is a new sort of TikTok style kind of in-app thing. So I think there used to be an experience called Clip It. I think they may have taken a bit of inspiration from, but I don't know how many of you have used moments. It's fairly new, but Roblox are trying to sort of use that to push engagement and use that to push game discovery. So if users can share a link from their moment, and that link takes them straight to the point of the game, it deep links them straight into the action, then that could really improve the effectiveness of moments. And they've also announced that they're working on some more APIs as well. So they want users to be able to upload UGC from in-game, and there's a new recommendation algorithm API. I'm not sure how many developers will want to recommend other games to players while they're in their game, but maybe it would be useful.
Yeah, that was it. It was an interesting thing when moments came out, and I haven't posted a moment myself, but I did go to try and play moments a couple of days after it released, and I think it was moderated at that point, and they had to bring it back, which was quite funny. But I saw in the experience questionnaire as well, one of the questions is whether you feature content from other people's games, and I think that's referring to the APIs that came out with Roblox Moments. But as you say, I'm not sure what the incentive is for a developer until everyone's doing this kind of thing of showing each other's content and recommending each other's games. Kind of like the ad portals that you can put in your game as well.
They never made us any money.
That many of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were
It
rubbish.
seems like a strange thing to send people away from your experience or your game.
for 10p.
But the yeah, exactly. But the uploading UGC one sounds interesting. I do wonder what incentives there are around that.
I think generally it seems like with a lot of these new social or engagement features Roblox is implementing, they're giving developers a lot of control over how to implement them. Like the APIs are very open. Like for example, for Moments, they mentioned that perhaps you could have a feature that displays on a billboard, like some of the top moments from your game. And I'm actually working on a game soon releasing, so hopefully this weekend, actually. So before this episode releases, that would actually be able to take advantage of it in a couple of unique ways, because there's going to be, I think, some very clippable moments in that game. And I'm considering implementing like a big billboard that can showcase that sort of thing. So overall, it seems like they're making stuff as open for developers as possible, which I think makes a lot of sense and is going to result in some really creative implementations.
I think Croydon has huge moments potential. True. Because we're on TikTok big, and I'm scrolling, I'm doom scrolling like in bed on my phone on TikTok, and then I get like someone crashing a double-decker bus into a bridge on my game. I get a bit of a jump scare.
I keep getting recommended Croydon lives, like people just driving around on Croydon.
Oh my god, there's so many of them.
I keep getting those, and like that's the only one that I get, and I don't, I don't mind the game, but I don't interact with the live, but it just keeps coming up.
I get Croydon lives, and they get bored and go on another game, so they say they're playing Croydon, but they're not.
No, but yeah, I think I want to put a billboard into my game. I think the lanes, it's a bowling game. You can imagine action replays. You know, if you got a strike or some cool, you picked up a split or something that was quite tricky to do, you could imagine having an action replay of that. So I'm going to be implementing the Captures API to automatically record those highlights and let you save them. But having somewhere to view those would be quite cool. So yeah, having a sort of Roblox Moments style thing, but just filtered to your game's content, sounds like quite a cool implementation indeed.
Speaking of sharing things between different users, I'm getting better at these segues. Another feature Roblox announced this past weekend is 3D model monetization, which should hopefully revolutionize the way the Toolbox works and how useful of a tool it is for serious developers. Since its introduction 20 years ago, pretty much, or literally every single asset in the Toolbox has been free, and pretty much all of them have been very, very low quality. With the introduction of 3D model monetization, Roblox is hoping to change that. Within the next few weeks, Roblox creators will be able to sell models for real-world currency on the Creators Store. The developer angle on this, and which is really the primary angle on this developer-centered feature, is pretty much this. At the moment, the Toolbox just isn't that useful of a tool for me as a developer, because most of the assets there, like I said, are very low quality. They're plagued with different scripts and malware that I have to like filter through to make sure I'm not accidentally leaking the source code of my game. Or they just like stylistically don't make any sense. Like there's a lot of stuff that works for like a grow a garden style game, but then makes absolutely no sense for the style I'm going for. And what's that meant for a lot of developers is that they're locked into commissioning. Either they're basically locked into maintaining a very, very minimalistic art style, like we've seen in a lot of the top successful games like Grow a Garden, or they have to maintain a massive, expensive art team just to, create something that is visually impressive. And while there are third-party marketplaces like Unreal's Fab or itch.io, they're not very targeted towards Roblox developers. So a lot of the time, when you purchase an asset pack from one of these places, you have to jump through a lot of hoops just to get it working in a Roblox game. There are actually a handful of artists monetizing their specific Roblox-specific work on websites like itch.io or Patreon, like Delos 3D. They have a lot of very interesting 3D work, or Ross, who's responsible for the very, very popular icon packs that you've probably seen in just about every single simulator game you've ever played. And some of these creators are actually making very, very serious amounts of money, but because of the fact that their work is on a second platform like Patreon or itch.io, it's not super accessible for a lot of developers. So this change would bring the developers and the creators onto the Toolbox marketplace, allowing for very fluid Roblox specific interactions between artists and developers, meaning that instead of hiring an artist to make some cool looking trees for your game, you can just go ahead and pay an artist who's already made a very impressive looking tree pack.
Nice. This definitely feels like a much better incentive for devs. I think completely to your point, like there was no incentive before to put your creations out here. They're freely usable. Anyone can chuck them in any game. There's nothing that you got from that as a developer. So I think you're absolutely right. Having the ability to earn money from this will bring serious developers onto it and just increase that quality bar quite a lot. I've definitely considered making sort of kits. I've done traffic systems and things before. We've got Stafford County Railway. There's a lot of things that we solved there that you could package up into something that someone could put into their game quite nice and easily. But there's just been no good way of selling that prior to this. And more importantly, discoverability of that, right? If you're on a third-party site, as you say, people have to know about that site and go and look for it. And that's a two extra steps for me to have invested in it so far.
I mean, it already works reasonably well with plugins. Although a lot of people complain that it's not available in their country still.
Is it not? Is that part of the real world currency thing?
Yeah.
Is it not everywhere?
So I don't know. Is this using real world currency or is it using Robux?
Yeah, so this will be using real world currency, and it'll be plagued, like a lot of people on the dev forum post have already been mentioning. It will be using real world currency, which means that a lot of regions will be locked out of interacting with this marketplace, which is definitely a concern. I'd imagine that Roblox is probably working on getting those regions accessible, because otherwise it does feel very, very unfair to the developers. Another popular concern that I saw in the replies of the dev forum, and I think one that is, I can see kind of the misconception at the core of it, is will this replace 3D modelers and 3D modelers doing commissions? And I think the succinct answer is very much no. I think this sort of pack or individual asset style monetization scheme makes sense for when you're trying to get something that is very generic and it doesn't really matter that much to your game. Like you just need some trees, you need some pretty looking rocks for your game. Why not just purchase some existing ones? But I think there's still a lot of developers and a lot of use cases where the best way to go will be bespoke custom assets made by a 3D artist, whether it's just a really unique prop or you have a unique art style, or you know what, you're a developer who's made a couple of successful games and you just don't want your game to look like every other game, so you'll go and commission somebody to make your own unique looking trees.
Yeah, definitely. I can see this being used to fill secondary assets, but sort of your primary ones you'd still want to have your own art style for. So yeah, I don't think this would replace people, but I think this would be when normally you'd either just settle for what you can find on the free models, or even just not have, a very nice scenery in the background. You could definitely pay for this kind of thing. So it fills that gap, definitely. But I think we'll see quite a wide range of models from this as well. Not just scenery, not just kits, but you can imagine quite a lot of different things. I assume this is also including like scripting and stuff as well, right? You can sell that through the model marketplace. So there could be entire sort of interactive scripts that get sold through this as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting application. I didn't really I was thinking about this in terms of 3D assets with 2D textures, but it seems like it is just models in general, which could include interactive behavior, which I know is something that Roblox obviously emphasizes a lot. Don't just have a tree that players can interact with. Don't have just a static car model, have a car model that people can drive around. So in that sense, you could even see it as a potential way to just streamline development as a whole. Like if you just need a secondary asset that you would either, like you said, ignore or just kind of do the bare minimum on, why don't you just go and purchase something that is set up beautifully and is super performant and works super well for, like $5? I think another common concern that I saw in the replies to the dev forum post was something along the lines of free models aren't free anymore, because there is definitely a culture of the Roblox Toolbox being, this free resource where indie developers can just throw stuff in and try to. I certainly remember being a kid and mashing together a bunch of different gun packs and zombie packs and making my own little zombie shooter game that broke almost instantly. And I think, rest assured, all the models that exist will remain free, and developers will still only have the option to enroll into this program and sell their assets. So I don't think there's going to be a shortage of free models, just that perhaps some of these higher qualities packs and assets that were hosted on other platforms in the past will now be part of the toolbox and will be a little bit more useful for perhaps more serious developers looking for very high quality assets.
What stops people from just buying something and putting it out for free or selling it themselves? I think that's my main concern with this.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. I was debating mentioning it or not because it does get a little bit technical. Essentially, Roblox has officially stated that there's not going to be like a DRM style protection system for these assets. So fundamentally, there's nothing stopping you from buying an asset once and then sharing it or reselling it. And that does sound very concerning, but I think if you take a few seconds to consider what a solution to this would look like, you kind of realize that it's a very difficult game to play because sure, you could maybe disable the export to FBX option on paid assets and maybe even gate specific asset IDs to people with licenses, similar to how the sound manager currently you have to authorize specific sounds to be used in different games following a crackdown of the music industry on Roblox. I think there's definitely a lot of interesting systems that could kind of help with that, but fundamentally Roblox is a 3D engine, and some clever hacker or enthusiast will come up with a way to like pull the raw geometry out of the place file. So unless Roblox really locks down everything from the FBX to the RBXM to the textures into like a proprietary uncrackable format, somebody will figure out a way to get around it. And that just doesn't seem like a very viable solution. And a lot of the leading marketplaces like Patreon, itch.io, Fab, they have the capability for users to do these kinds of things, but generally kind of a concern for licenses. If you're making any commercial projects, you could technically get sued if you're using stolen assets. In general, kind of developer goodwill keeps this sort of pirating at bay, at least in the serious developer
goodwill.
Well,
I'm not sure all of them have goodwill.
I'd like to imagine some of them still do.
Start listing names.
It's all part of an open platform, isn't it?
Fedor. I pay for my assets.
Well, speaking of Roblox, next up we've got our trivia section. How else can you segue into Roblox Trivia? So last episode, Fedor gave us all the question of what was Roblox called before the name was changed to Roblox. So what did you guys think? Because I think you guys had some ideas already. I wasn't 100% sure what it was going to be called, but I do have the official answer now. So what did you guys think it was?
Yeah, my thought was certainly Dynablox. That's what I'd heard at a couple of different places. So I'm curious to see what the correct answer is.
Same,
Is that what
instantly
you
in my
thought
head.
too, Anthony?
I thought there was interactive physics at one point. But I thought the main answer could go for
I'm pretty
Dynablox.
sure that's it. I'm pretty sure interactive physics was a project that eventually turned into what became Roblox. But the most recent name before it changed name to Roblox was Dynablox. And just before that, it was GoBlox. So I think if you said either of those two, they were pretty closely related to Roblox. They were the names it went through just before Roblox was finalized. So yeah, well done to both of you. I was thinking all the way back to interactive physics, which I think was sort of the underlying physics engine way back. But it's evolved quite a lot before it got to the point of being Roblox. So this week we've got another question for you. And again, like Fedor said last time, please do pop your answers in the comments or what you think it might be. If we do have some interesting answers, we'll read them out next episode as well before we reveal the answer. So this week's trivia question is, what was the first Roblox game to get over 1 billion visits? So another throwback to the first Roblox game to get 1 billion visits. I'm actually not sure about this. Like, I know there were quite a few. There was an era, right, where Roblox started breaking through 1 billion, and I think there were a few very big experiences that are still big quite now. Still big now. That all broke through at a similar time, but I'm not sure which one was first.
Yeah, I certainly have a couple of guesses.
Yeah.
And I remember that kind of era where it felt like every couple of weeks or months a new game was hitting 1 billion. And I mean,
definitely.
nowadays that's just like that hardly means anything, it seems.
To you, maybe.
But well, not to me, but I think to the platform at large. I'd love to hit 1 billion visits. But I can't really think of what the first one ever was.
I do have a
How
few
about you,
names in
Anthony?
mind.
You got any ideas?
But
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see what people comment. We'll see what the answer is next week. And we'll see if you guys knew what it was. See if it's one of the ones that we've got in our heads. But for now, we're taking one more break, and then we'll be back for our final roundup topic. Looking for a new hangout spot for you and your friends? Check out The Lanes on Roblox. It's a virtual bowling alley and video arcade. Score a few strikes or a few gutters, and challenge each other to beat high scores in the arcade. Unlock new animations and more bowling balls, including special effects like a fireball. There's a big update coming soon, and if you've completed at least one bowling game by release, you'll get a special reward. Search The Lanes on Roblox or visit thelanes.vip. Okay, welcome back, and our final topic of today is about Roblox shifting to Roblox communities rather than continuing to support Guilded, which was their kind of Discord clone, Discord competitor that they bought. I'm not sure how recently they bought it, actually. It feels like not very long ago at all, and it's already being sunset and being killed. So the aim of this is to consolidate the communication onto the Roblox platform, support all users, enable users who aren't necessarily 13 and up to still access some of these features. But it is quite an interesting rug pull after Roblox communities integrating Guilded and sort of forcing you to use Guilded if you wanted nice looking announcements and a nice big banner to tell people to join your community. So, as I say, Roblox have promised to bring features to the platform, so announcements will be there direct, and they already released forums not very long ago. But yeah, I'm not unhappy about this change. I think we all saw it coming, right? It's never been a proper competitor to Discord. It wasn't ever going to overtake Discord. That's true. But it is a bit of a shame that you were sort of forced to use it for certain features, and then those were taken away. Did you guys engage with it much?
we just used it for the pretty announcements, really, and a little bit as formality. We didn't interact too much of it. We had some people video calling us and like messaging because we couldn't really work out. Like I found it quite unintuitive, and like
the privacy controls and stuff weren't great on it.
And so someone I work with, Toby, who's a UI designer, product designer, he had someone at some point just randomly start messaging him, "Oh, I'm ready now," and then like I'm ready, I'm here, and like spamming him, and he just started video calling and just like constantly video calling him, and like he couldn't figure out how to make it stop. Anyway, a bit sidetracked, but there were some hints that this was coming, I think, because there was a certain point where they started kind of integrating features of Gilded, and then they stopped, and then there was like new forums on the communities, and there's a whole new kind of type of community now, right? So I think we kind of saw this coming definitely from a few months away.
There was some interesting sort of conflicting, as you say, they were leaning into it and then not leaning into it. I think some official Roblox communities are on Gilded, some are on Discord. It was a bit of a mixture. I tried to engage with it quite a bit when they first announced buying it, because one thing you could do in Gilded that I think you still can do and you can't do on Discord, I don't think, is have membership tiers like subscriptions, and that was a really interesting thing. So sort of like Patreon, but directly in Gilded, and so it was directly tied to a role, and so you could give people access to things. So you could give them perks directly in Gilded. That was quite a cool feature. Yeah, and they had forums and they had announcement channels and things before Discord did. But as with most big tech, it didn't take long for Discord to go, well, we'll just add those. Like, that's fine. It won't take very long, and
locations popping
then
up
there's
on
no
Instagram
compelling
today.
reason. So yeah, I've seen two flavors. I've seen the creators who've tried to go in on Gilded and kept their Discord, but used it as a bit of a echo server that announcements got cross-posted across to Discord, and they just let people exist in both if they wanted to. And I've seen people who've done what you sort of said for Croydon, where they've kept on Discord, their community's there, and they've just created a Gilded server purely to do the announcements. And for them, this isn't much of a change. For people who did shift all the way over to Gilded, this is now an awkward, oops, I know we told you all to move over there, but come back to Discord again, or go to the Roblox community. And
I don't think they want you to go to Discord, but that's probably what's going to happen.
No, but it's, exactly. Unfortunately, right now, all you have on Roblox communities are forums, which replace the antiquated wall, which I'm so glad walls are gone, because that was also...
Walls were hilarious. I loved and I hated
them. But yeah, so
Exile
I think
user.
There's still no instant messaging on there, right? There's no instant messaging, but yeah, the moderation tools have gone from just being able to exile a user to now being able to lock topics, delete topics, all that sort of stuff that you get on forums. So useful for support topics, useful for asynchronous conversation. I think the instant messaging, everyone's just going to go back to Discord.
Quite frankly, like Anthony said, I really only used it for the fancy announcements. I've actually been an long-time Gilded user. I set it up way back when I think one of the Fortnite clans I was in decided to try using it, and we quickly realized it was like back in middle school, and we realized it just wasn't really up to par to compete with Discord. And so we kind of went back, and then when Roblox purchased it and started integrating it heavily, I was kind of like, oh, this is neat. And then it just did not seem to have, like you said, kind of that network effect where like pretty much everybody was on Discord. And because of the Roblox account integration, technically everybody was on Gilded, but I never used it, and most of the people I knew never used it. So the only real usage that I ever got out of Gilded was an announcements channel. That looked a little bit nicer. So now that communities are a little bit more integrated with that sort of stuff, it seems like there's pretty much no change for me.
There was one extra feature that Gilded still has and Discord doesn't yet, which is those announcement channels. You could turn them into public blogs as well on Gilded, which is quite cool. So you didn't have to sign in to see the content of that. It could kind of be accessible via the Gilded website. And it would be quite cool if Discord added that. That's the one feature that I think is still missing, that Discord still hasn't copied over, that I value a little bit. because then under 13 users can still see your announcements as a blog. But yeah, I think this was inevitable as well when you consider all the safety stuff, right, and all the directing users off platform and how Roblox aren't a big fan of that, and this was definitely at odds with that if they were going to continue pushing Gilded. So
I never knew what was allowed on Gilded and what wasn't. I was always a bit like,
yeah,
should I be doing, like, am I allowed to send this link? But then there was no like the same level of moderation. Like, it wasn't going to get hashtagged, but could I get in trouble for it? I don't know. I don't think they were super clear on their policies. Clear.
Not at all. So I suppose now it'll be quite clear. Roblox communities are very much on platform, going through the same moderation, the same filters as any other communication on Roblox. And obviously Discord and other third-party things are completely separate from Roblox. And I think that's a much clearer separation, hopefully in the name of safety, but we'll see.
Make sure you join the Beyond the Blocks TeamSpeak.
That's a throwback.
TeamSpeak, yeah. That is a throwback. Awesome. That's all I had on Gilded. That's my rant over.
Speaking of voice calls made possible by TeamSpeak, it's probably about time for us to wrap this one up. I don't know. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of fun too much with this transition. And
the segues are out of control.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all we've got for you this week. Come back for the next episode next week for the latest Roblox news and features.
Be sure to like, share, and let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, along with your answer to the trivia question. What was the first Roblox game to hit 1 billion visits?
Beyond the Blox is produced by Seb Jensen for Last Level Studios. Watch on YouTube or Spotify, and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Catch highlights on TikTok, Reels, and Shorts. Visit lastlevel.co.uk/podcast for more.